I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, I'm all you need. In the off-white Rari, baby, we run the streets. I'm a K-I-N-G, Westside royalty. I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, that's all you need. I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, I'm all you need.
Welcome back, everybody. I am your host, Stephen Basita, on my podcast, Get It. And you can find us on the social NOSTRA network. This is a fresh new network of talented creators. And we're bringing you a plethora of different shows with these different talented creators. We also have a Roku channel, so you can find us on Roku now, as well as Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and any other social platform. We're on Spotify and Apple iTunes. So if you're listening to us on one of these platforms, welcome. We're excited to have you. And my guest today is Pepzz. And Pepzz is a friend of first my wife and now a friend of myself. And Pepzz is a young, talented individual who's been in the Hollywood scene as a model, a dancer. I could go on about him. He's an entrepreneur, but I'm going to let him talk about his story. And so how you doing, my man? How's everything going today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. So I do want to dive into your story because you have a very unique story, which is going to be fun to tell. And I want to just dive right in here. So tell us a bit about yourself. Let's start with as we learn a little bit about yourself. Let's start with your beginnings, your passions in life, how you ended up where you're at through life, and then how it got you to where you are now and what you are now doing.
Sure. Well, firstly, thank you so much for having me. My story. Well, I was born in Dominican Republic, and since I was like 4 or 5, my mama has always said like, oh, I want to be an actor, I want to perform, so on and so forth. And literally we moved to New York and then Rhode Island and then back to New York. And didn't pursue anything that I wanted to pursue until I was like 18, 19. Long story short, moved on to LA at 25, got into dancing, acting, modeling. And within the past like 5-6 years, I've created a really like great career in entertainment. You know, I've been able to work with great artists, great brands, great companies. And now coaching. I've been a big student of personal development. I've been a big student of a variety of different coaches, from Danny Johnson to Marshall Weeder to learning from Tony Robbins online. And it inspired me to help people pursue their dreams.
Okay. Now I want to, you glossed over a lot here. So you got to New York. What was New York like for you guys? You said you lived there till you're 25.
Yeah.
So what was New York like? How was it? And did you actually start getting into acting and all that stuff in New York, or was that something you waited until you got to LA?
So growing up was weird. You know, growing up was weird being an immigrant for one. So learning the language and the culture was its own set of hurdles and difficulties. So growing up in a country where I didn't really know the language or the culture till I was like almost 11 years old was interesting, to say the least, you know.
Okay.
And I think because of that, to a certain degree, I didn't really pursue anything that I wanted to pursue, you know. Right. As a kid, I was just like trying to figure out how to communicate and how to make friends with people that I couldn't really verbally understand, you know.
Okay.
So growing up in New York was a lot more challenging for me as a child than I would say the typical, you know, East Coast kid who is from this country. And then because I waited so long to pursue entertainment, I didn't do much in New York that I wanted to do. You know, I had a regular job, I went to school, you know, I had a very common lifestyle, so to speak. It was very much like go to school, go to work, go home, rinse, wash, repeat type of thing. And then I pursued entertainment seriously when I was about 25. I decided randomly to move to LA. Within a 3-week period, I had this idea. I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just move to LA. I'm like, my friends moved. they're killing it. I was like, let me see what I can do. And then I thought that the worst that would happen is I would hate it, or I would go broke and I would move back home. And even though I have gone broke a few times, thankfully I have not moved back home. And thankfully I have a great career that I'm super excited about now.
Okay, so let's get into, you moved to LA, you're 25. So what was your first order of businesses you got there? How did you get plugged in? What did you start with? What did it progress to? And then how did it get you into where you are now?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that happened with moving to LA was trying to figure out how to make a life. You know, my best friend, she lived here before I did. So I literally stayed on her floor for a few months until I could figure out what to do. So I just figured out, you know, let me get a job, let me figure out, you know, how to get training in entertainment from dancing to acting. But everything kind of happened so quickly. I remember getting my first job out here in like 2 weeks, was working full time, hated the job, but I loved the paycheck. And that whole transition from New York to LA was super rough for the fact that I didn't even have a time to enjoy or explore the city. I was like, let me just go ahead, make money. Because, you know, as an adult, it's not like we can live for free,
Right.
Or we can rely on our parents 100%.
Right.
So I didn't really get to enjoy LA as much as I wanted to at the beginning, but I was able to literally just dive into what I wanted to dive into. You know, I made good 6 figures from working full time. And then I was able to invest a lot of my time and money after work to dancing and acting. So after work, I would go train for like maybe 5-6 hours every single day for like 4 or 5 years, running on like 3 hours of sleep for like 6 years. It wasn't fun, but I think it paid off. I think it really paid off.
Good. So then I guess the next big thing is like, as you got into, well, first of all, what was your job?
So my corporate background is human resources.
Okay.
Yes. And with human resources, I did everything from recruitment to HR generalist types of roles to a little bit of management. But primarily it was recruiting that I did.
Okay. So you're doing all the dancing and all the different things you're doing to get to where you are. So what was your first commercial job? What was it? And then how did that start to get into a snowball effect for you?
Oh my God. I think my first commercial job in LA was a music video that I did for this artist. I think her name is Anna Delaria. I don't even know if she still does music, but it was the most random job. And that job in itself didn't really lead to the next job. But since that came to me so quickly and it came to me in a place where I didn't feel like I was fully prepared, it showed me that I was prepared. And then that helped me just start putting myself out there more. You know, that helped me decide. I was like, okay, if somebody wants to hire me and book me and trust me to deliver for their music video, then I'm thinking I should trust myself to deliver for other people, you know?
So
yeah.
My next question, because people don't know this. Now I only know it because I've done it before. The music video was what, probably 3-4 minutes long. How many days did you film that video?
So for that video, it was actually a 1-day shoot, but it was like a 14-hour day shoot. Which usually for most videos, it's either like multiple days, multiple 8-hour days, or you're there literally all day. Yeah.
I want people to hear that because I done some of this stuff in my day, not dancing though, but just being a body. And, you know, I try and tell people how long it takes. They're like, no, the music video is only 3 minutes. I'm like, I know. Still took 3 days to film it. So you're doing multiple locations. Everybody's got to change. You got to set up new areas. It's a lot, man. People just don't realize it. Like what you're seeing in that quick 2 to 4 minutes, takes a few days to get it all put together.
Yeah, and even that's filming the video, right? So then if there's dancing in the video or if there's like movement, then there's the rehearsals.
Yep.
And then rehearsals are their own beast because sometimes choreographers don't know what they want to do. So then they literally have you try everything and they use nothing.
Right.
Or like you figure it out. And I'm like, well, what are you here for? So a lot of times when it comes to um any of this work, it's like a lot of what glitters isn't always gold, you know?
Yeah, exactly. All right. So you did your first music video. What happens after?
Um, Let me think for a second. I think I was so caught up in the plan of, working, let me wait for my big break to come type of thing. Like, I think a lot of people have that plan where it's like, let me make my plan B my main plan, and
Right.
plan A is going to happen on the side. I think what ended up happening next is I ended up breaking my foot in two places. I remember that. I broke my foot in two places, and it was the most random break. I took a dance class, and I remember to this day, there was very little footwork. It was like two steps, and everything else was upper body. Somehow I broke my foot in that class, where we were barely moving our feet. And I was sidelined for about 4 months from dancing. And that helped me to see like, okay, what am I going to do if I can't dance, or what am I going to do if I can't be on my feet? And if I could never perform again, I was just thinking about my life, and I'm like, I do not like working full time. I do not like human resources. I hate having to follow such a rigid schedule. That break made me focus as to like how I can make a life for myself outside of a job or entertainment,
Right.
So it led me into exploring different ways of like entrepreneurship, from, MLMs to, freelance gigs to like consulting. So that kind of like triggered my mindset to what it is now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many years, just so people have context, were you doing, the photo shoots, the video shoots, acting, music videos, all that stuff? How long have you done that for?
Professionally, I would say 6 years since moving to LA.
Okay.
I did start taking my first dance class like 10 years ago, but it was very much just, I'll do it when I feel like it type of thing.
Okay. And give me your two best memories and your two worst memories
In general?
from your experience in the entertainment industry.
My two best and my two worst. I think my best would be recently. I did a video shoot for Paulina Rubio. She's a artist from Mexico. She's a legend for Latinos. And getting asked to do that job was very, very random. Like, I was just at home. My friend texted me. They were like, "Hey, do you want to do this job?" I had no idea who it was for. But growing up, listening to her music and like seeing her in music videos, and then getting direct booked to do the job, and then being able to also not even just dance, but also add to the choreography, and then add to, her movement direction, lightly was fun.
Awesome.
And then my second best memory, I did this dance program called Motivating Excellence with Rhapsody James. And she had us do this like mock photo shoot. She was like, you pick out your clothes, do your own makeup, like wear what you want to wear. And I remember doing the shots, and people were like, "Do you model?" And I was like, "No." Literally, it wasn't even a thought in my brain. And then from there, I just started booking a lot of modeling gigs, and that's how I started modeling. And I think the biggest thing with that was just like having people see me in a light I didn't see myself in,
Right.
and then leading me into this path that now I do, professionally.
And what was your biggest photo shoot that you've done in your life? What company or magazine or?
Biggest in terms of that, I would say it's either the magazine that I just shot for Obvious Magazine, or when I shot for Fox's Flirty Dancing. They didn't use all the shots, but that production was crazy. You know,
Okay.
they built out a whole creative treatment around me and this other girl, and we were shooting in like mansions in Malibu and the Pacific West Coast Highway. You know, they booked out like creative spaces for all of us, and it was just really surreal having a whole day dedicated to the both of us.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So let's get into the two worst memories.
I think the two worst memories.
Because, you know, for me, mine was vastly shorter than yours. I did it for like a year and a half. I first moved to California. Like you, I lived in my car or slept on floors or couches. It was a very interesting first few months into California, but I had no intention of doing anything outside of being a strength coach and, you know, the things that I do now. But you have to survive. And what people don't understand is Southern California is so stinking expensive. It's just crazy. And so I was doing bouncer work and security work and public security, private security, nightclubs. I was doing bartending, private parties, clubs, you know, just anything I could do. And so one of my buddies, he's a very good looking guy, and he looks like an all-American. I mean, anything you see him in, just if you see him, you'd understand. So he had been told, he's like, hey, you should really like, you know, try some modeling and stuff and acting. He's like, all right. And we looked at it. He's like, hey, dude, you should come with me. And I was like, I don't think so. He's like, well, look, I need help. Going to LA is hard from Orange County, especially during the day. I need a carpool, and you might as well get paid while you're up there. So why don't you just like put together something? So I put together something, sent it out. I actually got a few hits, which I was surprised. So we were going up there and doing stuff together. The first group I worked with was like Studio M5 something. I don't know. It was like Studio M520. I don't know. It is something. Anyways, I can't remember anymore. But we got up there and not a great experience. I got up there, like they liked all the photos and stuff we sent, or I sent, you know. I was 205 pounds, 210 pounds, 3% body fat. So I had no fat on me, but I'm, you know, yoked. So we get up there, and the first thing they do is the photographer takes us into a room, you know, do a couple shots. And he tells us to take off, you know, our clothes up into our boxers, right? Not the most comfortable thing for me to do when it's somebody I've never met in my life. So anyways, I take off my clothes, and he's like, you know, just gushing over Eric. Oh, you're perfect. You are the all-American dream. You're the golden boy. Like, I've got plans for you. Like, Eric got the just crazy praise. And Eric and I are very similar build, same height, pretty much same weight, all that. And, you know, couldn't have been better for him. And I'm like, all right, man, like this is going to be good. All right, perfect. Then he looks at me, he's like, you got this Eastern European look. We really need to like hone in on. You're too tan. I surfed every day. So he's like, you need to really just get back to your like white roots, and you need to lose like 25 pounds. I was like, it's not going the way I was hoping. And then he just like, all these like critiques, man. He's just going after me like, you need to do this, you need to do that. We're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do that. I'm like, you're trying to change my entire life. I told you this was not going to be a full-time thing for me. Like, this is just like a side hustle. I'm not doing all that. So anyways, I did not have a great experience, just ripped into me. And then afterwards, like, you know, I didn't want to say anything. This is what he does for a living, right? So I just was like, all right. And I was young. I was 25. I left feeling pretty defeated though. I wasn't too happy about it. So I was like, well, I mean, this isn't going to happen. Like, I can't lose 25 pounds and do what I do for a living. Like, it's just not going to happen. Plus, I don't want to give up surfing just so I can be super white. So I was like, I just told Eric on the way back, I was like, dude, I'm not sure I want to do this because we had to go to downtown LA, man. Like, it's not easy to get up there. And I was pissed. So we got back and I sent out my stuff to a few other photographers. I got used for a couple things, but it was always kind of the same thing. Like, people really wanted to fit me into a box I wasn't really stoked on. And so I worked with a couple photographers on a couple small things for the stuff that I kind of fit, but very short-lived.
That just reminded me of I was doing this shoot for somebody back in the East Coast, and it was one of those like trade for trade type of shoots. I wanted more of my portfolio, and it was like an underwear boxer shoot, like inspired by like Calvin Klein, or like it wasn't supposed to be anything risque. It was just supposed to be a very like run of the mill underwear shoot, which I was cool with. And then it got weird when we finished and he was like, for me to give you the pictures, I need to have a copy of your license. And I'm like, that never happens. Like, that's not even a thing that legit productions ever ask for, is right, copies of your licenses or like identification or socials. So the back and forth moved to being back and forth via email, where I refused to give him my license. And it was just such an uncomfortable experience having somebody trying to get something so personal out of you, And I think in this industry, I think one of the biggest things that I've seen, thankfully not with me, knocking on wood, is that there are a lot of people in positions of power, so to speak, from photographers or choreographers, producers, who try to like manipulate the talent, so to speak. So I think just in general, bad memories would include things like that, or not getting paid on time. I remember doing a gig, actually even recently, I did a job a few months ago that like, where's the paycheck? It's been about 3-4 months. And that happens all the time in this industry. No matter if you work with people from A-list artists to B-list artists to companies from like a Fox or to a mom and pop shop who's looking to hire models for like their campaign, the talent is usually always paid last. And it doesn't make any sense because producers are always paid on time. The location is always rented out on time. The photographers, videographers, usually they always get paid out first. And then
the location is paid right away, bro. We've hosted, when I had my gym business, we had video shoots and photo shoots all the time because we had a huge place that was really nice, centrally located in Orange County. First check they made was to us, and it was the day they came in, that check was ready to go, and we take it in that same day. I didn't mess around, bro.
Yeah,
make sure that happened. And it's funny that you say that because like, yeah, you see everybody getting paid pretty much right away, and I would just have assumed that they would have paid the talent there too, because they have these huge spreads. Like, they'd have freaking tables as long as freaking, we're talking like 10-foot tables full of anything you could possibly eat. They've got people there with makeup and it's just crazy, bro. Yeah, I would have just assumed everybody got paid right away and then they move on to the next thing, because why would you want to wait that long?
Honestly, it doesn't even make any sense, because going back to the Paulina job, that video that I shot, the choreographer, she asked the producers if the dancers can get paid that same day. And producers were like, yeah. And I'm like, is that what we need to do, is just ask more? But even the fact that we have to ask, as opposed to the norm is what they call a net 30. So basically you have to wait 30 days to get paid after the job. But usually those 30 days becomes like 60, 90, sometimes half a year for one check.
That is crazy. I had no idea. Excuse me, I had no idea. For those watching and you're seeing me yawn, it's because my daughter is 10 months old and did a dance on my head all night last night. All right, so you've done that stuff, and now you're in a space where you're also an entrepreneur, and you have started what I would say is maybe the more exciting thing in your life per our conversations and what you're really stoked about. So let's talk about that. Let's walk into what you've done now and what you're doing now, and give us as much information as you can about that.
Yes. So I have my own coaching company called Pepzz. And I would say I'm equally as excited about this as I am my entertainment career, which is where it becomes the juggle, where it's like, I still have this career, but I still have this passion. So what I've decided to do is create a coaching company that focuses on what has helped me, become who I am today. I pretty much really just focus on like two things. It's confidence building, which is basically mindset. And then secondly, like making transformational concepts like practical. So for example, one thing that people struggle with is like time management. And there's so many like different ways of like making a to-do list, organizing your schedule, organizing your life, so to speak. And then I think the biggest thing with something like time management is figuring out like what is most important, because usually like we'll make time for the things that we care about the most, for the most part.
Yes.
Even if it's a job that we hate, we make time for it because we like getting paid,
Right.
So what I've decided to do is I looked back at my life over the past 6-7 years, and I'm like, okay, we literally created a career while having a full-time HR career that was like so demanding, working 50-60 hours a week, for companies that were investment firms or medical practices. And in that period, having to go through, insecurity, lack of belief, having to go through having no money, having to go through having no energy, having to go through people not believing in you. And what I found is throughout my journey is there's a lot of great coaches and seminars, but a lot of times it was like the concepts were given, but I'm like, how do they stick? Like, how do we make, the believe in yourself moments like actually stick day in and day out? So that triggered me to creating like little hacks and tips from how to build up your confidence, how to build up your time management. I'm so sorry. How to just really just become the next best version of you while doing what you're doing.
Okay. So now let's go through what's your Instagram, your Facebook page? Do you have a website? What do you got?
So I have all of those things. The website will be launching hopefully next week. I've been working on it like a madman this week. But all the handles are Pep Talk with Pepzz, Pepzz. Instagram and Facebook and YouTube can be found literally through searching Pep Talk with Pepzz. And that is also going to be the website name, Pep Talk with Pepzz. It's going to be the website name.
Pep Talk with Pepzz. I love it. All right. And so as you're going through and getting all this stuff going, let's talk about that first leg of your journey so far. How has it been? What have you learned? And for people to understand, like, what's the time intensity side of that?
That's such a weird question because it's been like a 4-year beginning. You know what I mean? Like people would ask me to coach them throughout the years and I would do it, just casually or like part-time or very much on the side. But when we spoke a few weeks ago, I decided that I really wanted to make it what I saw it in my head to be. Like I wanted to be as big as possible. So these past few weeks, just revising, not even just the infrastructure from social media to YouTube to websites, but also like my coaching practice, seeing what works, what doesn't work. I don't want to launch anything massively and then have things that either need to be refined or be changed or just be removed entirely. So I would say over the past 2 weeks, maybe it's been like 3 full-time jobs. It's been like it's been like the full-time job of being like a web developer, like a graphic designer, and then it's been the full-time job of me coaching because I'm still coaching people. And then it's been like an editor revising everything, you know, not just as far as like grammar and visual aspects, but also making sure that what I am producing, you know, is of great quality. So I would say it's been like a 3 full-time job experience over the past 2 weeks. Yeah.
Because, you know, I obviously do business consulting, and I always have people ask me about like time and all the stuff they got to do. And I just tell people, you know, because I think entrepreneurship has become the new like fad, so to speak. Like that's the new sexy thing right now. And I tell people, man, there's nothing sexy about it. Yeah, if you're in that top 1% where you have your own jet and all that stuff, okay, maybe that's sexy. But those people put in 40 years of work to get there. That didn't just happen overnight. And I said, you know, you have to be in it for the long haul, and most people aren't going to do it. And so I always try and talk people out of it, to be honest. So look, this isn't what you want for your life. It's easier to go clock in and work your 9 to 5 somewhere and clock out and then have a small side hustle that doesn't take much time, whether it's working for Uber or a delivery service, or, you know, being a wedding photographer on the weekend and you just have a small little landing page for it. You know, like it's so hard being an entrepreneur. Like people just don't get it. And there's a reason why so many businesses fail every day. I'm going to talk about every year, like just every day. It's a grind, dude. And I always tell people like, you have to just be built different. You have to want to work every second of the day, every day of the week. You're not going to take vacations. Like your life isn't going to be the sexy thing that you think it's going to be. It's hard. It's a grind. And I do it because I love it. And I actually have always done my own thing. I got out of college and I've been working for myself since I was 24. Now, there are times like I said earlier, you know, I definitely worked jobs when I moved to California, but I was still working for myself. All those jobs I was doing, I still was training on my own. I had my own little training company that I started. As that really started to grow, and then I got into basketball, I did less jobs. But up until I got to a space where I was really, really doing well, I was always working odd and end jobs. That never changed because I wanted to make sure I had money coming in. That was an important thing. But having said that, you know, it is challenging and people just truly don't understand that. So I think that, you know, for you to tell people what it's been like is incredibly important. People need to understand, like, dude, it's a lot of work. The setup, especially if you have a vision like you do of getting to be a bigger name, it just takes so much. And what you have to do, and like, I was telling somebody this the other day, you know, the sucky thing for me is I have to try and plan any weekends that I can do anything with my family where I'm actually off. I have to make sure that I have 0 teams playing that weekend for any of my chapters, because I run Rain Basketball. For those who don't know, I run a basketball organization. It's called Rain Basketball. I started it. I run it. It's a 501c3 non-for-profit. And I have chapters in Orange County, California. So I have OC Rain Basketball, IE Rain Basketball for the Inland Empire of California. I've got Las Vegas Rain, so LV Rain Basketball. And then I'm here in Denver, so I have DEN Rain Basketball. And that is, I love it more than anything. This is my passion. This is what I love to do. But it is a time sucker, man. And like, I took my wife away for her 40th birthday party redo, because for her actual 40th, she was pregnant and COVID was going strong. So we go to Arizona, and I told her, I won't work much this weekend, I promise. We got to Arizona on Friday. Oh, man. Things couldn't have gone worse on Friday. I had teams in 3 states playing. And, man, on Friday, like, the schedules got annihilated. I probably spent like 4 hours working, and I told my wife I wasn't going to work. So Saturday and Sunday, I didn't have to do a lot. There was just little things I had to do. But, you know, the point is, you're going to end up sacrificing, and you're going to sacrifice a lot. So what do you want to sacrifice, and what are you willing to sacrifice, and are you willing to do it? That's why entrepreneurship is truly a young person's game when you're not married and don't have kids, because you have the time, energy, and effort to spend, so that when you get older and have a family, it's less. Because I tell you that now, I'm almost 40, and I've been running Rain basketball for 11 years. I've gotten a lot better. That Friday could have literally been a whole day. It was only 4 hours, and it could have spilled into Saturday and Sunday. I'm pretty good about protecting time, and I was able to do a good job of that. But if I hadn't done this 11 years ago when I wasn't married and didn't have kids, ooh, I'd be getting mangled. Golly, just takes up everything. So, per our conversation too, having systems and processes set up, planning for where you want to go, and then just setting up the template to do it. Because it is, and again, for people that want to get into owning businesses, I mean, let's not even say entrepreneurship. You just want to own a gas station or a franchise, you want to get a McDonald's location or something, like, it doesn't matter what you want to do. It's still going to take up time. I've been talking to business owners who did buy into a franchise, and they were told they weren't going to have to do much. All the systems and processes are already in place. They basically, you're just buying in, and they already find you your location. They walk you through the steps of your lease, employing people, everything, right? And it's supposed to be like a turnkey type system. Even those people end up being like, dude, I was lied to. I thought I'd be able to walk in here, turn this key, everything would turn on, it would run itself.
Nope.
And that is not the case. And here I am, like, thinking one thing, and I'm in a completely different boat, and I don't even want to be in this boat. It is a grind, dude. And again, I just can't emphasize enough. And I think it's really great that you said it the way that you said it. It's like working 3 full-time jobs. That doesn't change for a long time. It's really, really, really important, especially for all of you listeners that are trying to get into business. It's so important that you understand you are going to sacrifice, and you're going to sacrifice a lot. And if you're not willing to do that, then don't get into it, because you're just going to left feeling broken and upset, and your bank account's probably going to take in a pretty good freaking hit. I'll wrap up with this. There was one guy that I'm trying to help. One of the people I mentor, he's in Seattle, my old home stomping grounds, and he actually works for a consulting company, and they have a gym owner who bought into a franchise, and I'm not going to say much about the details of it, but he actually had to go back to a job he hated because he was getting paid so much just so he can make that money. And then he has to pay that money into his business to keep his business afloat, because he signed a 10-year lease. And he signed like all these contracts, and he's financially hooked in. So even if he tries to declare bankruptcy, all stuff, he's still like, he's in a bad way. So, again, just understand it's not for everyone. In fact, it's really for only a select few people that enjoy punishment, because you're going to take a lot of it. And again, I love what I do. I wouldn't change it for anything, but I also enjoy getting punished on a regular basis because I still do it. So, there has to be some level of enjoyment that you take in being a punching bag, because that's what I am, a punching bag a lot. I tell everybody I'm a firefighter on Mondays, because Mondays is always when all the problems are, because that's when we have all of our tournaments and stuff. And that's when people are bent out of shape. So Mondays is like my firefighter day. Tuesdays, I'm a punching bag. Wednesdays, I'm a punching bag. Thursday and Friday, I'm a messenger boy, just trying to get everything out to people as quickly as possible. But again, for those who want to do it, you 100% find help, find support, find a mentor or mentors,
Absolutely.
Find people that have been involved in it. And I would also say this, find people that are not in the same industry. So if you're trying to get into the restaurant industry, don't find a mentor that's in the restaurant industry, unless they're in the East Coast and they own one restaurant. They're not trying to stifle you from doing something, because it's hard for people to separate themselves from their own desires and wants and needs. And if you're trying to find someone that's in the same industry as you, they're probably not going to lead you down the best of paths. It's not always the case, but a lot of times it is. And I hear that story a lot too. So find someone that's not in the same industry. have a good support system, get plugged in, and do lots and lots and lots of research. Really understand what you're getting into. When I was in the gym business, so I had my gym open for 6 years, and then COVID happened and it's no longer open. The average gym fails, 85% of gyms fail in their first year.
Wow.
Of the 15% that survive, 90% of those won't make it past year 3. Of the 10% of those that survive, another 90% will not make it past year 5. So you're on slim margins. And when people would tell me they're trying to open a gym, the first thing I say is, don't do it. Go find a gym where they rent space out to trainers, run your company through that gym. Do not open a gym. It's the worst possible thing you can do for yourself if you're not, if you don't understand that industry. Jumping in with both feet is not always the smartest thing to do. And once you've built your business up to where you're making $20,000, $30,000 a month, save, and save a lot. Save until you have $250,000. Then take that $250,000 that you just saved, that you worked really hard for, and see if you're ready to part with that and putting it into a gym. Because you're going to, and you're not going to make that back for a really long time, because now you're going to have a crazy sum of bills you couldn't even comprehend. It's really hard, man. It really is. And so my message to people, with what you said is, be ready for a grind. Be ready for it to be hard. It is. If you're going to cry, listen, I'm not an emotional person at all. I definitely cried more than once, especially when financially things weren't going well.
Oh, trust, that's the real slap in the face. You're like, what do you mean I'm doing all this work and I'm broke? I'll say a few things about that. It reminded me of this audio by Lisa Nichols, who's a great speaker, coach. She was in The Secret, and she had this interview where she said one of her biggest business lessons was not hiring people who are like her.
Right.
And actually not even hiring people at all, like putting people as a contractor for a project and having those people do the things that she isn't necessarily bad at, but isn't something that she needs to be doing. Right. So, for example, with me, I hate administrative work. I think I hate it because I did it for so long in human resources. But a former client who's also a friend, she loves it. She's all about administration and clerical duties and typing. And her name was Montana. And I was like, I'm down to do a trade for trade. I'm like, I will give you free coaching if you become an admin. And literally, even though I've done a lot of the work, she's also been in the trenches with me these past few weeks, that having support, especially support from somebody who's good at something that you are not good at or hate, is crucial. And then I think, to your point of it being a grind and it being a grind, I think that's not a bad thing if you know that you like it. Right. And that's the point, right? You have to love what you're going to do in order to be married to it, because you are. And, to what you just said, one of my mentors said one of the smartest things I've ever heard: always find people better than you. Hire people that are better than you at everything. And that was one of the reasons why I was successful, is I found people that were better than me. And you do have to have a base knowledge of everything. So you don't, you're going to be taken advantage of. Yeah. You're going to have to manage between employees and contractors. I think that's very important. I think that what you brought up was a really good point. But yeah, you're married to it. You better love it, because it's going to be part of your life every day. And how many people truly enjoy being salesmen or saleswomen, right? When you own your own business, you're a salesperson. I hate being called a salesperson. I don't call myself a salesperson, but
it's funny because they were like, dude, you're just the greatest salesperson. I'm like, I'm really not though. I say it this way. I'm like, look, I believe in what I do so much that I don't feel like I'm selling anything. And I'm so authentically, genuinely invested. I don't really think I have to sell. But when people talk to me about what I do, it comes from a place of true, authentic, genuine love for what I do.
Yeah.
I honestly could show text messages like a ridiculous sum. People would like want to jab their eyes out by the amount of text messages I get from families of just how much they love my organization. They love me. They love what we've done. They loved how we've helped their kids, all this stuff. I get them all I'm very blessed. I get them I get them enough that it keeps the gas in the tank full. Because you deal with the other stuff too, where you have people that just bash on your other organizations that aren't happy that you're doing better than them, so you take a lot of flack too. But I have a really good balance, which keeps my life moving in the right direction. But with anything that you do, you gotta love it, man. You gotta have a passion. You gotta really, really, really be sold out for whatever that is.
Yeah. And I think honestly, if you love what you do and if you believe in it, it eliminates the feeling of sales. I feel like it eliminates even the need to sell. And I say this because even in the network marketing industry, if you really believe in the company, I feel like you wouldn't mind sharing it. You wouldn't mind talking about it. You wouldn't mind, inviting people to check out whatever it is that you do.
Right.
I think it feels, and it is sales, when it's kind of like the car example, where it's like, buy this Toyota, but then the salesman is driving a Nissan. It's almost like there's no real like integrity there.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. So give me your closing thoughts here. What would be something that you would say for anybody listening to you? Two things. What's your advice for getting into the entertainment industry to people that want to get into it? And then what's your advice for people getting into entrepreneurship as you are doing that now?
It would probably be a few steps. Number one, I would want to know why. They should also know why. And I say this because when I first started coaching in entertainment, it was because it would make me feel good. I'm like, I love how I feel when I'm performing, and I love how I feel when I'm helping people. After that is figuring out what is my lane going to be. Not that it was a mistake, but I spent a lot of years dancing, which I love to dance, but I never saw myself as a dancer. I always saw myself, as an artist or as an actor. So I would say, figure out why you want to get involved, entertainment or entrepreneurship. 2, what is going to be the lane? What do you see yourself doing? And then 3, it would be to be prepared to be unprepared. Everything requires way more money, way more time, way more energy, way more faith. Like everything requires way more of everything than we think that we need. So those would be my 3 steps. Why, your lane, be prepared to be unprepared.
Awesome. I love it.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for being with me today. And to all my listeners, thank you again for joining us. This is your host, Steven Bessita. You're on my podcast, Get It. And again, we are on the Social NOSTRA Network, which is one of the fastest growing networks. It's creative content creators, different talented content creators all coming together under an umbrella to provide this type of stuff, information, entertainment, anything that you could be looking for. And there is a list of them, which I will not spend the 5 minutes doing, but check us out on all of our platforms. The Roku channel is going to be great. We're on Roku and you can see everything. We've got a little bit of everything. It's great. It's a blessing to be on. We love it. Thank you so much, my man. I really appreciate having you on. Please make sure you check out my boy. And of course, as always, if anybody has any questions, comments, I love all the interaction I get. You can always reach me on my Instagram, which is SSBESEDA. I love all of the comments I get. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed engaging with a lot of you, and I'll continue to engage with all of you. I've responded to every single person to date. I'll keep that up. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.